Hello, I am Xarkun and this is World of Warships Legends. Sorry for the delay in the posting of the content, but the COVID makes it difficult for me to talk, or at least it was doing that, but I think things might be going okay for now. So what do I have for you today? Well, I have a game in my very favorite battleship in the entire game, the Tier 6 Premium Royal Navy battleship, HMS Nelson, which I've maintained before and I maintain today is probably one of, if not the best, premium battleships at Tier 6. And you're going to see that in evidence today. What you're not going to see is me finishing this game with an incredibly high damage score, but the damage that we do will be respectable. More importantly, what you're about to see is the Nelson tying up an entire flank of the map against, I think, 4 or 5 enemy ships, basically completely alone. Now, if you've watched some of my fellow CCs, you'll know they give such pieces of advice as don't abandon your side when you spawn on a particular flank in one of these games, and I doubt any of my teammates have actually watched any of those CCs and absorbed what they had to say, unfortunately, because as we can see, we do have the friendly destroyer entering the Alpha Cap, where he's gotten into an entanglement with Lay Terrible over there. You can see the friendly destroyer is an Icarus, and the Icarus, well, standing up to Lay Terrible, I don't think things are going to work out very well. Meanwhile, there are 2 battleships next to me. You can see the Synop directly in front of me, and I believe there is another battleship somewhere near the Synop off to the side of the screen. In fact, there it is coming into view just now. Looks like an American battleship, the North Carolina perhaps. You can see where both of them are pointing, squarely away from the Alpha Cap, and the Icarus has gone down. So as these guys move more toward the center of the map, more toward Bravo, eventually they're going to start making their way toward Charlie, which, by the way, the Charlie Cap is where my division mate, the Monk 52, is located in his battleship. I forget what he was playing in this game, but he's down there. So I'm headed off toward A, completely alone. And there are some things that would make this kind of move undesirable, particularly in the Nelson. The first of those things is that the Nelson does not have very good armor. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's just no getting around it. The Nelson has 25 or 26 millimeter bow and stern plating. I always forget the number down to the exact 1 millimeter threshold, but either way, its bow and stern can be overmatched by 15-inch battleship caliber AP or larger. So there is no bow tanking most of the battleships that you're going to come up against in the Nelson. Their armor-piercing shells will simply go right through your armor plating as if it doesn't exist. And then the second thing is, there is a destroyer around here. Lay Terrible, of course, but I found that one of the excellent things about the Nelson is its turret setup. Of course, all 3 of its turrets are situated on the front of the ship, making its 9 16-inch gun firepower quite accessible from a variety of angles that other battleships can't hope to perform, or a variety of angles that other battleships can't hope to situate themselves in because of their turret setup. And the second thing about these turrets is that if you're pushing forward in the Nelson, say into an area where you know there is a destroyer present, well, you can zigzag, and you can keep your guns off to one side of your ship or the other quite easily by zigzagging back and forth through the water, and that will often throw off destroyer torpedoes. Plus, if you can push up to an island and block the line of sight of a destroyer, that's always a good thing to do. There is Lay Terrible, 4 kilometers away from us, right around that corner. We're going to start slowing down now and pointing our bow away from this King George. Right now, the King George is what we are regarding as the biggest threat. We can slap cruisers with our British armor-piercing shells, but the King George is a battleship with more hit points. And like the Nelson, the King George has fantastic high explosive. The Nelson, in one sense, is strong versus high explosive damage in the sense that it has one of the British super heals that allow you to heal back an exorbitant amount of hit points. And so if you get lit on fire, even if you get lit on fire twice, you can allow those fires to burn and simply reprint yourself a ship. The problem is if you are under focus from a lot of ships shooting HE at you, and those ships are capable of penetrating your armor, which almost every HE spammer is, even the light cruisers, so long as they're running Equilibrium of Power, the HE can pretty much penetrate this ship everywhere. And if you get under sustained HE focus, well then you'll lose health more quickly than you can replenish it, even with your super British heals. And that is part of the reason we're thinking about taking the King George out as quickly as possible. Although, as you can see, the King George has been shooting the armor piercing at us, and the results have been largely ineffective. So perhaps we should have focused down the Helena, who was spamming us with quite a bit of HE. You can see the King George AP there. It does penetrate our armor because we're not angled as well as we should have been, but the damage is not catastrophic. Anyway, we pull around this island once more, breaking line of sight. As far as we can tell, Les Terrible is still probably around the area. There's a Helena and a King George out there, although maybe Les Terrible's more in the center of the map, now that I make a comment on that. Looks like the destroyer was, in fact, spotted south of the Bravo cap. So, we're turning in now. We intend to go in more aggressively versus this King George and this Helena. The King George does not have 15-inch guns, so he will not be able to overmatch our armor. Instead, we'll be able to tank his AP shells should he choose to continue shooting them with our bow. And that's nice. There's not very many ships that the Nelson can actually do that to, which does make it a bit of a tricky ship to play. But note the team composition right now. Basically, half of each team has been eliminated, but the enemy team is ahead on kills by 1, and the enemy is also ahead on points. We've got that enemy destroyer inside of the Bravo cap spotted. Hopefully he will be stopped from taking that cap. King George coming back in now too. We're turning away to angle against him. The accuracy there leaves a little bit to be desired, and we don't ultimately come away with that great of a hit. But on the bright side, Les Terrible has been dispatched, and now neither team has a destroyer, putting both teams on relatively equal footing. As far as we can tell, the King George is pushing in, there's a Nuremberg out here, and the Helena is still, as of yet, unaccounted for. Now, I believe my presence here in the Nelson is the only thing that has dissuaded the King George and Helena, and probably that destroyer, from pushing north through the enemy, or rather through the Alpha cap and into our friendly spawn. Had I not remained here in the Nelson, and had I joined the Sinop and, the North Carolina that spawned on this side, had I joined them in going toward the Charlie cap, this flank would have been completely bereft of any blue ships, and as a result, there would have been nothing to dissuade that Helena and that King George from pushing in north through this A-cap, getting into our spawn, and potentially developing a crossfire on any of the ships on our team that remained in the center, even any ships that were north of the Charlie cap. So our presence here on this flank alone, I think, was quite valuable in this game, despite the fact that we really haven't seen a lot of action. I don't think you can underestimate the importance of battleship positioning in that regard. The battleship, it exerts power on the map, and enemy ships don't want to push into it because of the risk of them getting dev struck by the battleship caliber AP. So I don't think you can underestimate that aspect of battleship gameplay when it comes to situations like that. And that is something that you should keep in mind when you're playing your own battleships, Nelson or whatever. A lot of the time when you see your teammates abandon a flank, like my team did before, and you push in yourself alone, you're likely to get focused down and sunk. And sometimes it's just best to follow your teammates, even if they're making decisions that you don't agree with. But sometimes it can work out in your favor if you don't follow the lemming train and you maintain a position alone somewhere on the map that prevents the enemy team from pushing into that part of the map. I think that's what we've done in this game, and I think that is going to contribute to our victory here and to our ultimate top score, which is going to be number 1 on the leaderboard. Excuse me, there's the COVID, ruining my throat once again. Now there are only 3 ships versus 3 ships, 2 cruisers and a battleship on the enemy team versus 2 battleships and a cruiser on our team. We're doing the zigzagging motion here, mostly in an attempt to throw off the Nürnberg's aim so that he doesn't land all of his high explosive shells on us. As he turns into our salvo there, we're able to take him out with a pity citadel. That just leaves 2 enemy ships left, and as far as I remember, both of them are on pretty low health. Now, this was a game that I played during a live stream, and the reason I wanted to go back and do a commentary on it, as I like to do with a lot of the games that I play on stream, is because when you're playing on stream and you're focusing on the chat, or you have a division mate with you and you're talking to them, it's not always easy to have all your focus directed on the game itself, and sometimes you play a game like this and you think, what on earth happened? How did we win this one? And how did I stay alive despite being the only ship on this flank? Well, the answer to that is, I think, as I've already said, the power of battleship map control. I think we held down this flank very well in the Nelson, and this 4th kill on the Sinop here is just going to be icing on the cake for us. As far as this game goes, it has been thoroughly won, and once again, it's been a while since I've talked about the Nelson, but once again, I tell you this ship is fantastic. If you know how to use it, it is one of the best battleships at tier 6 that you can buy with real money. In other words, one of the best premiums. And it makes a lot of money too. You can see we had 700,000, nearly 800,000 credits from just that game. Anyway, hope you liked the video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. Maybe go check out the Monk52. If you haven't seen him, he's also a CC. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.